When I was young, I was quiet as a cause of them. Marilyn Juggernaut, just because my English name is Marilyn. And I was born on the islands and water in our territory. That was our home community, the water, the islands, and all that they hold. And over the lifetime, my life walk, I've had the privilege of many interests coming to present themselves for me to know. And just recently, I have been engaged in the Elders Lodge, the Conservation Reconciliation Partnership hosted by the University of Guelph. In relation to that circle, it shakes hands with the IPCA. What is IPCA? Indigenous Protected Conservation Areas. That is the funding name for the support work that is shared amongst the people. But in reality, in our place, it is the governance of which we already know, and that is through the governance of which Creator identified for us to take care of the lands and waters, the plants, the animals, and the kindness of that. And in doing so, to remind us that there are those knowledge keepers. They sit in the sky world, in the constellations, and I call them the Petroglyphs. For example, we know about the 7 grandfather-grandmother teachings. And how we know that, because it was very significant that we remember and that we transfer the knowledge. And what those markings are in the sky world, it is called the Big Dipper. And the point of the handle is to the north. That reminds us of where those medicine winds blow. Underneath it are our children, the forever, and that tiny dipper. And we're always grateful for our men, our warrior society, and the fire bundles that they breathe to life. They sit in that domain as well. These days, with this pandemic, a new way of learning, a new way of sharing, and a new way of caring for us. We travel through the sky world through mechanical and virtual means, meaning what we're doing now that you're transcribing by a virtual means. So we always have to say miigwech for those fire bundles, that they watch over our good words. And when our words are hasty or we have energy, they call Chinoden to come and cool our thoughts, our spirit, so that we can continue our journey in a good way. The IPCA, which is one island here in our territory called Shawanaga First. And I was asked through an interview, what did I see? And I thought about the island, and the shape of her is like a grandmother carrying her pack-sack of knowledge, her aprons, all of what grandmother would look like. And in places where the water beds go out and there are long weeds and whatnot, that is her hair that drifts across the waters, so that it gives us a braid, a knowledge, that faith, hope, and spirit connects us to the roots that live there as well. Like the pandemic, we are also spiritually in a pandemic. We've forgotten it's not as balanced as it should be. And we've forgotten the colors, that purple that sit in the center of the cedar tree, the one that was given to all beings, the four-legged, the two, and the ones that hop around all things, that provided the spirit of life at a different time when things were hard. This pandemic that we have is something that we have gone through before different times. And we know this because of the stories of how we were gifted. For example, the big drum, it came through a time when the villages were chaotic, fighting with each other, men beating the women, not hunting and feeding the children or the grandparents. It was chaotic. One young girl, she went to do her fasting, spring fasting, and she was gone for such a long time. And the people went to look for her, but they couldn't see any markings of her on the land anywhere, any indication that she even existed anymore. And one day, after a long, long time gone, that young woman came back, and with her she was carrying some very heavy items. And in the items that were wrapped in this deer skin that she had brought back, there was a round stump of cedar tree. There were the sinews of the animal, the four-leggeds, and there was the hide from that precious gift that Oshkosh, the dear woman. And the people were so happy to see her, and they gave her her due of the feast and cleansing her body in that sweat lodge. And during that feasting, she had opportunity to tell the people why she had been gone so long, that the grandmothers had visioned her a special message, and how to create the big drum. And most importantly, how to sound it equally. 32 songs for the women and 32 songs for the men. And she told the men how to dress and create the drum. And she also said that Mishona's grandfather, Sky grandfather, told her to let the men know that they're to stop beating their women and being of that way. And that the drumsticks given from that cedar tree were a reminder to keep themselves in a healthy medicine way. And the people learned the songs, they learned the dance, they learned all of those spirit words that were sent back with that gift. And we, right now, are in no different time. It just has a new dress. So we have to look for a balance, and it will come. And it's not through greed, hate, bad words. So we know how to take care of ourselves. We've just forgotten. We get a little bit of that crow syndrome. The crow is that one that covets the shiny things. And that job for him or her, that clan, is to remind us of how, again, that gift of greed that we are not supposed to carry. In the island, out on the waters there, Shawanaga, is home of our ancestral people. They lived there, they left their mark there. Now we know that when Nanabush came to greet all living things in this territory, he too left his signature. Some places it's footprints of quartz in the rocks, as though he was running, coming out of cold water or something like that. But those footmarks are there. Other places you can see the imprint of how we sat down on the rocks. And we know that there were many medicine bathing places for various reasons that are left above the water and below the water. And those are the potholes. They have great strength, great power. And they remind the women about the need to look after that water source, that life. But I'm finding with the new technology of the young people that have come to learn the process, what is in the water, what species spawn where, how do they spawn, and they want us to mark down on a paper. And I'd look at them and I'd say, I will teach you how our thinking is and our knowledge that's being passed down, but it will have to be marked in your heart. You'll have to carry that knowledge in your heart so that when you talk your words, it has that feeling and understanding, that relationship with the species. Lots of times the people play around with rocks, oh, we want this channel fixed up a different way, or want my boat or canoe to go through there. And we really have to think about moving what is underneath. Because if we change the bottom of the bay, the spawning beds, there's a process of how those fish swim over the rocks, and it massages the egg sacs from the outside and getting it ready on that journey to bring new life. My sister, she talks about the brown water, sends her partner there to go and get fresh water, and she always say to him, you go past the brown water, and we've heard that all our lives. And even that process of understanding what that relationship is when the honeycomb comes, when the ice is in that beautiful honeycomb and it starts to dance and work its way. It gives a beautiful sound. Then Chinook and the big winds come and help it. But as it's breaking up, as it comes to shore, what it is doing, it's creating two things. It's helped solidify itself back to the water, the liquid water. But as it's doing that work to become that clear, free-flowing again, it is also breaking up the little bits of moss and feed, things that live close to the shore, and they start floating up in the water. So when the fish come in to spawn, that ice woman has already started to prepare what we would know for baby cradle as a moss bag. So you cannot learn those things through a piece of paper. You have to know, you have to realize those things. Why the water goes up and down is very significant too. We've seen that happen many, many times. And what I'm believing now at this age, when the water comes up, we say it drowns the medicine plants on the shore. And that's not so. It just makes them go dormant so that when they rejuvenate, when they need to come back to us, they're very plentiful. This year, I know that with the water low, the plants are going to be in such strong abundance. The beauty, I can see them already. So the IPCA and the grants of money that will allow the work to continue. The grant money is 4-year, and under the medicine wheel we follow that 4 directions. The beginning, where we are, the wisdom of the ancestors, and the medicine in that Chinook and that north wind. So in saying that, we've already celebrated when it came so that we could begin the work and shaping of, to learn. Us is to get ourselves ready. And this 3rd year is absolutely wonderful. And that is making the relationship. The ancestors who sit in that western door, they're waiting for us, not to join them, but they're waiting for us so that we, again, adopt and learn our cultural ways. It's a beautiful process. So if you want to achieve a balance, you have to work for it. We're working real hard these days, and it'll be fine. Things will be fine. We have to sit and be patient with each other. And I know that things are going to be fine because we had a toad move into one of my cousin's place. And when we were small, we were told, don't bother the toads. Don't bother the toads. If you bother them, we'll know because they'll pee on you and you'll get warts on your hands. So we didn't bother the toads. We were really going to get it if we did. But I came to realize when the story, the acknowledgement that a toad had come to live with us last fall in the community, I was so happy. I was so excited because I thought, what the grannies or grandma and the aunties were telling us about the responsibility, why the toad was given to creation. And you have to think about this. When they're small, they're born to look exactly how they are when they're big and they're grandparents themselves. So they're put here with aged skin, and they're put here with lumps all over their backs. And what those lumps are, they are the ancestors. They are the ones that carry the knowledge of all of those sacred bundles. So they truly are a gift, and we always think ugly things are awful. But in this case, we have to look at who they are with their aged skin and the wonderful knowledge of what they carry. So we're in a transference of that. And I've been able to share that out with some of the young people here in 35, 40 years of age. And they're in awe because we have forgotten to tell the children the stories. So we have responsibilities beyond.
All right.
Thank you much for listening.
Thank you.